What's up YouTube? What would a vlog be if it didn't start in the car, wearing that anti-knit t-shirt and ready to go to the Meetup game? It's gonna be our first at Lucky Chances. It's myself, Q from P's and Q's Poker Vlog, Christy from Just Chrissy B, and Andrew Locke, who goes by the same name on YouTube. And we're really excited to kind of have the first one of these. I myself am going to have a hard time ever really traveling anywhere, so being able to start something that I can run in my own local card room is amazing. I really love the idea, which Brad and Andrew have mostly pioneered, and it's amazing. They're all super fun. I think it kind of brings it back to what poker has always been about, which is having fun with people that you can interact with. Unfortunately, the last couple of years, it seems like there's been this movement towards being more robotic at the table, wearing headphones, and being unsocial. And that's clearly not the way. So I think that these Meetup games have really pushed the envelope to bring it back to what it's always been about, which is being communal. So I'm really excited, and I think we're just gonna have a ton of fun. So good luck to us, good luck to all of you who will be attending, and I hope in the future, if we have one of these, I hope that you yourself will be able to attend. All right guys, let's get to it.
Growing up, parents got me a guitar. Said you could do anything, kid, you could go far. You could be the president, fireman, race cars. The sky's the limit, kid, so shoot for the stars. So I strummed that guitar every day. Found a passion for music, never went away. I joined a couple bands and played a few shows. Tried to impress the girl in the front row. But soon enough, everything starts to change. As you grow up, nobody treats you the same. They try to take your future and make it real safe. You could be a doctor, accountant, or something sane. But yo, whatever happened to the sky was the limit. I fell in love with music, never thought it was a gimmick. I worked so hard on every tune and every single lyric. My whole identity depended on being artistic. Now you wanna strip that away, so you feel okay? Cause if I make it to the top, what does that really say? That you shouldn't have given up, that you made the mistake? But if I fail, you feel much better about picking your lane, right? Yeah, things are gonna get better real soon. Yeah, I'ma just do me, you just do you. I swear it's gonna get better real soon. Don't let anyone tell you what you should do. I got a clear view, we're gonna make it soon. Just keep pushing through. You're what you got to lose. You're what you got to lose. You're what you got to lose. Just keep pushing through. Cause what you got to lose.
I live in Santa Clara. I came down here because I've been following a few of the vloggers, including Andrew, Charles. I haven't seen Q's. I'm not sure if she's a vlogger, one of the vloggers, but I haven't seen her. I'd probably check out after today. But just came out here to have some fun.
Getting lucky today,
I got lucky, really lucky. Yeah, I just raced blind, you know, had a really good draw, shipped the money in. That's the way you do it. Just having fun. Yeah.
It's pretty good hands. People are bluffing all over the place. Jeez. Gotta buckle your seatbelts. Buckle your seatbelts.
Yep.
It'd be really nice if you can give me a good hand right here.
Got it. We'll do it for the camera.
Yeah, it'd be perfect.
And let's be honest, life's a competition. So if I'm going to play, then I'm gonna play to win it. I refuse to sit and rot at a desk all day unless I have a passion I'm working towards, okay? I'd rather be dead on the outside than inside. A bullet to the head than 25 to life in a cubicle alone, just trying to get by, building someone else's dream instead of building mine. If you're hearing me, this is meant to inspire. If you have a dream or if you have desires, a girl in your life that's making you feel that fire, go fight for her man, go die for her man. Cause you only have one life, one chance to do it. One chance to prove it to yourself, so don't lose it. You got this, fam, just keep pushing on through it. One day you'll look back so glad you pursued it. Yeah, things are gonna get better real soon. Yeah, I'ma just do me, you just do you. I swear it's gonna get better real soon. Don't let anyone tell you what you should do. I got a clear view, we're gonna make it soon. Just keep pushing through. You're what you got to lose. You're what you got to lose. You're what you got to lose. got to lose.
I love poker because it's such a creative game. There are infinite ways that it actually parallels life. There's so many life lessons you can find in poker. There's also such a great and supportive community. I'm really grateful for so many people that I've met through playing poker, including a lot of the folks that are here today.
I won't give up, I won't back down till I'm lying 6 feet underneath the deep ground. I won't give up, I won't back down. There's nobody stopping me except for me now. I won't give up, I won't back down till I'm lying 6 feet underneath the deep ground. I won't give up, I won't back down. There's nobody stopping me except for me now. You ain't gonna stop me now, because I got this now. I got the formula and I'm about to drop it loud. So what we talking about? There is no talking now. We take action with passion, we're rocking now. It's tick-tocking now, the clock's talking down. And all I hear is haters try so hard to talk me down. But they can't stop the sound, already on the ground. Everything is growing faster than I can count. You ain't gonna stop me now, because I got this now. I got the formula and I'm about to drop it loud. So what we talking about? There is no talking now. We take action with passion, we're rocking now. It's tick-tocking now, the clock's talking down. And all I hear is haters try so hard to talk me down. But they can't stop the sound, already on the ground. Everything is growing faster than I can count.
All right, so let's get into these hands. The first one happens when there is a kill pot, I believe, in like the cutoff for hijack. I'm in the blinds with 6-5 offsuit. I call the 3 more, and the kill ends up checking. We go, I think, like 4 or 5 ways to a flop, which comes 2, 4, 5. I think it must have been 5 ways. I end up leading for 15 into this pot. And now I think it folds to the kill, and he snap makes it 40. The player right after him cold calls. It's 25 more to me with what I think is gonna most likely be a gutter to the nuts. I think if I hit a 3 here, the 6 high straight should be good. Yeah, it's a bit of a loose call for 25 more, but we didn't come to play a meetup game to be folding gut shots to straights, so I call the 25 more. Turn is an offsuit queen. I check, and now he bets 95. The player after him tanks for a while and folds. At this point, I have to just be folding. Like, I can't be getting too wild here with just top pair and a 6 high kicker and a gut shot. So I fold, and after the hand, he claims that he flopped the nuts with 6.
Of course, I had the 3-6.
Oh, yeah. Definitely possible, but it's hard to imagine that he's getting too wild here with just an air ball. I think the air balls that he would have would probably contain a 3 for an open ender. Maybe he has a hand like 4-3 or 3-2 for a pair and open ended, or 5-3. But yeah, out of position here, I can't really be calling in this spot, so I like to fold. In this next hand, I have 6-7 offsuit, I believe in middle position. I open to 17. Player to my direct left calls, and we go heads up to a flop, which comes deuce 4-6. About as good a flop as I can probably hope for with 6-7 flopping top pair. So I bet 20, and he calls. When he calls here, I do think sometimes I'm getting floated by some like good ace highs, like ace king, ace queen, maybe ace jack suited with like some back doors. But I think it's way more likely that what he's gonna have are hands like pocket pairs, like maybe 5s, 7s, 8s, 9s, 10s. Those are just the hands I think A would be calling pre-flop as to a largish opening, and then calling on this flop. So I'm planning on barreling some good turns cards that are going to become scare cards for his most likely holdings. Like I said, the pocket pairs. So the turn's an ace, which is probably like the best possible card. I'm planning on double barreling here and probably giving up. If he calls here, then I think it's much more likely that he has a hand like ace king or ace queen that flow to the flop and now turns top pair, and I wouldn't expect him to be folding that to another bet on the river. So I had 40, and he thinks we're betting full. So I think it's much more likely, like I said, that he did have a hand like the pocket pairs, maybe 5s, 7s, 8s, that figure, they really can't be calling on this turn because it's just so unlikely for me to be double barreling and not having something that's going to beat pocket 8s or 9s. This is the advantage of being the pre-flop aggressor, using board textures to attack what you believe are your opponent's most likely holdings. In this hand, I kill in middle position to $6. So we're playing 3-3 no limit with a $500 cap, and you can kill, which is essentially a straddle from anywhere except the button. In this case, wherever you kill from, the action skips you and then comes back to you as the last action past the blinds. So for example, if I were to kill in the cutoff, everybody acts from under the gun up to me, it skips over me, Now it comes to the button, and then through the blinds, and then back to me again. So I killed 6. It folds all the way through to the blinds, who each called 3 more. I look down at ace deuce offsuit. I expect the blinds to be completing really wide here, so I want to be punishing. I make it 25, and the small blind is the only caller. We go heads up to a flop, which comes king, queen, 10. He checks, and obviously I'm going to have a range advantage here. I do have a gut shot to the nuts, and I mean, sure, is this board going to hit him sometimes when he has hands like queen, jack, queen 10, king 10, king 9, things like that? Yes, of course. But I also think he's just going to have a lot of hands like 9-8, 9-7, 5-6 suited, things like that. They're just going to have to be check folding this flop. So once he checks, I decided to put a continuation bet out of $30, and he folds pretty quickly. At that point, I gotta show him the deuce. Let him wonder about what I had for hand. I think I ended up making a joke that obviously I had king deuce for flopping top pair or something like that. I don't remember exactly, but yeah. Further showing the key to no limit hold'em is aggression. Pre-flop, post-flop. Keep your foot to the pedal unless somebody gives you the sign that you should be slowing down. At this point, I move over to the second table, rather the first game that was started, but my second table. We were doing something where each of the vloggers was changing tables and rotating about every hour, a little bit over an hour, just so we can get into each game. So I think this is like within the first couple of hands that I'm at the table. I'm in the big blind with pocket 7s. It folds like the hijacker cutoff, who is Spencer, a vlog watcher, really cool guy. He ended up writing me an email afterwards thanking me for hosting the event, and just letting me know how much he enjoyed the whole thing. So I really appreciate these messages. It's nice to get this positive feedback, letting all of us know that this is something that all of you enjoy and would like to continue to attend. So anyway, I think he opens like 15. I defend out of the big blind with the pocket 7s, pretty standard. Flop comes jack 8x. I don't remember the final card. I check, and he pretty quickly bets $20. It seems a little forced. Seems a little like he's trying to let me know that he has a big hand. I'm not quite believing the story just yet, so I call with the pocket 7s. The turn is a 9, giving me a gut shot. I check, and now once again he quickly bets 40. Again, seems a little too forceful and strong. Generally, as I've mentioned, when people are trying to act strong, in reality it's weak, and vice versa. So I call once again, and now the river is a queen, bringing a 4-liner, a 10 makes a straight. I decide at this point I obviously lose to just a number of different hands. There are going to be some hands like king, queen, who have now rivered a pair. So I decide to turn my pocket 7s into a bluff. I think I'm much more likely to have the 10 in this situation. So I like to bet 110 as a bluff, and he folds really quickly. I show the pocket 7s. In these meetup games, I think it's always good to show a bluff. It's good for your table image and good for the overall fun of the table. If you think it's going to needle someone and hurt their feelings, then yeah, by all means don't do it. But I think generally speaking, people kind of enjoy being shown bluffs. I think it's good for poker tables in general. And he ends up letting me know that I had the best hands. So I obviously could read that the 7s were good on the flop and the turn. Maybe he had something just like ace deuce suited or some suited hand like that. Anyway, so we picked that pot up, and at this point I think I am up maybe like $100 or something like that. So these poker meetups, they definitely don't lack any action, which was good to see. It's fun to see that people are enjoying themselves and playing some cards. There is a kill under the gun to 6. I'm under the gun of that and have pocket jacks. I open to I think 21 or 25. Now, to my immediate left is a buddy of mine, Peter, who I've played with a considerable amount. He makes it 75. I'm not happy to see it. I think his range here is going to be, good pocket pairs, ace king, ace queen suited. Now the player to his immediate left goes into the tank and ends up folding. I'm thinking about what am I going to do here? I think my only real plan of action is to flat and see a flop. I don't really want to be trying to get it in here. I think he's fairly deep as well. I don't remember the exact amounts, but he had over 100 big blinds for sure. Anyway, it folds to the kill, and now he thinks for a bit and rips it in for $400. Oh wow! Didn't expect that to happen. At this point, I think it's like a mandatory fold. Anytime you're getting 3 and 4 bet, I think the weakest part that you're going to show up into, that people are going to show up with, is ace king suited. And I, obviously don't want to be flipping where I'm just calling it off. It's a different story if I were to be jamming and forcing somebody else to have to call it off with, ace king, ace queen. But in a situation where I think at best I'm going to be flipping myself, there's no point in calling. So I like to fold, and now Peter to my left snap calls with pocket queens. Unlucky for him, the straddler ends up having pocket kings. Obviously, pretty gross cooler. I think he's much more likely to be running into ace king here from the straddler. But at the same time, I do expect the straddler to show up with a strong range here. When like under the gun opens and under the gun +1 re-raises, you're not going to find that this guy is just going to be putting in 400 with like an air ball or like pocket tens, in my opinion. I don't know what I would have done with pocket queens. I probably would have just called it off for the 300 more. It's maybe like 60 big blinds. I'm probably not folding queens for that amount. But yeah, definitely cooler for it to be jacks, queens, and kings. And lucky for me that I was able to get away from it, because I think the flop ended up coming like all low cards. I would have flopped an overpair with jacks. So it's quite possible I'm going to play a pretty big one against Peter to my left when I have jacks and he has queens. 2 seats to my right, maybe 3 seats, but I think 2 seats to my right is Jean-Francois, who is a vlog watcher and someone who is quite familiar with meetup games. He's been to the Andrew Nemi and Brad Owen meetup game. I think he actually won their costume contest during Halloween last year. Really cool guy. So he had limped, I think, the previous hand. I isolated him with ace-4 suited, and he check folded on some raggedy board. Now he limps again, and I have jack 10, I think jack 10 offsuit or suited on the button. And I isolate once again. Gonna be pretty standard for me. Any hand that I'm gonna want to be playing, I'm going to try to be isolating people. So I make it $20 in a straddle pot. He calls. The flop comes jack high with 2 spades. Comes like jack XX with 2 spades, and he check calls 25. The turn is a jack giving me trips, and he checks once again. I like to bet 45 to get value. I think I should actually be sizing up, because his most likely hands here are going to be pocket pairs that aren't going to believe and are going to be calling, or flush draws. And a flush draw is such the case that if they are going to be calling, they're not going to be putting any more money on the river unless they bink. So really, and the only real perfect card for them to bink would be the suited 10 giving me a boat. So I bet 45. He calls once again. The river is an offsuit 8. He checks, and now I think I bet like $100, something like that. And he folds quickly. He lets me know that he had a flush draw with a pair of 7s. So obviously a 7 would have been a good card as well, because now he ends up making 7s full against my jacks full, and probably pays off, a moderate bet. But yeah, so I think I like sizing up on the turn a little bit larger to charge him for his likely draws, because when I have the trips and there's two of a suit on board, it's much more likely that he himself is going to have a suit. And if he calls a larger bet on this turn, I can actually check back the river, because I think jack 10 is going to kind of be low in my value range for trips. He's obviously going to have me out kick sometimes when he has king jack and jack queen, and so when the river's a brick, I could actually check back and not really be targeting much, because like I said, he's more likely to be having a flush draw. So we win that pot, and now we're up a couple $100. All right, it's now time for our third table, which I think technically is, maybe it's the fourth table. I don't remember exactly, but it's the one that I had actually started at, and I've yet, one of the games, I think the 5th game started in between us starting to rotate, so I've actually gone to this table twice before I've gotten to this 5th game. And so I know I'm familiar with some of the players. Because we are table changing, we have to post into the game. I'm in middle position. I probably have to wait like 3 or 4 hands, so I decided to just kill it for the $6 to get dealt a hand. So I get dealt in, and I get queen 9 offsuit. There is a limp. It jumps over me. Now there's another limp. The button makes it 35. The button is the guy in the video that you had seen who said he was visiting from the South Bay, that had earlier raised blind, flop, top pair, and a not flush draw, got it in against a set and hit the flush. He makes it 35. He seems like he's a bit of an action player. Can he have a good hand here? Yes, of course. That said, I think he's going to be doing it fairly wide here against some $6 limps, possibly even just doing it dark again. Who knows? The small blind calls 35. The limper calls. It's now on me. I assume that the guy behind me is just going to call. He's never going to be limping this late and raising. That'd be a pretty strange thing to do. So we're in a meetup game, looking for some action. Queen 9 offsuit. Yeah, not a very good hand, but not going to be folding it for $29 more. Let's gamble. So I call the $29 more, and the player to my left calls as well. We end up going, I think, five ways to a flop. So the pot is like $175. The flop comes 9-3 deuce with 2 hearts. I have the queen of hearts, so and the 9 hearts on board. So the good news is, in order for me to improve to making either trips or 2 pair, the flush is never going to get in there. So they are clean outs, which is important. It's something to consider. Now the small blind leads for 100 into the field. Next act only has 105 left, so he jams in the 105. It's now on me, and these are the precarious situations you're going to get yourself into when you play a hand like Queen 9. Do I think I have the best hand here? Yeah, some percentage of the time, sure. The problem is A, I have to hold against these two players, if that is the case, and more importantly, I still have people yet to act behind me. The next player after me only has 240, so if I call this 105, it doesn't hurt too bad, right? I only have to call the 135 more. It does reopen the betting for the guy who bets the flop, but he's got about 600. The button has like 600 or 700 as well. So yeah, it's a pretty tough spot. And I go into the tank for quite some time, really unsure of what to do. Part of me wants to just fold because, like I said, if I have the best hand, I still have to hold and have to navigate on a variety of runouts. At the end of the day, flop and top pair, I just decided like I'm not going to be folding. The button I think is very wide. He's going to have a lot of hands like ace king, king queen, ace queen, things like that. So I call. Next player to act folds, and the button tanks for a bit and folds, thankfully. We obviously did not want him to be getting wild here, because I think if he applies any real pressure on this spot, I just have to fold, right? Like, yeah, maybe he has a hand like ace jack of hearts and flops the nut flush draw, but still, like, that's still going to be 2 overs and a flush draw that I have to fade, and that's if he has exactly that hand and not something better. So anyway, so I'm happy he folds. The turn is an offsuit jack, and now the small blind bets 100 once again. Obviously, for this price, I'm just not going to be folding. What's essentially top pair. Really, the only thing I lose to now that I didn't lose to on the flop is like Jack X of hearts. Can he have that? Sure. But I would assume he'd bet a little bit larger if that was the case. In my opinion, it feels like he's got some middling strength hands, maybe something like pocket sevens, pocket eights, as well as, flush draws. A lot of times you'll see people do this with flush draws, naming their price, right? Like, they don't want to check and have to call too much, so instead they bet some small amount. Anyway, so I call. And we go essentially heads up to the river, but there is a side pot for that one guy who's all in for the 105. And the river comes an offsuit 4. Yeah, fairly good card. No flush gets in there. No real overcards. And now he once again thinks for a bit and goes to start betting. Grabs 100. I'm like, okay, like I'm not folding for 100. Then he grabs 200. Like he's going to bet 200. Then he pauses for a bit, kind of thinks. And then he says, I'm all in. For 575. Oh man, yeah, that was not something that A, I was expecting, and B, wanted. I definitely don't want to be calling a huge bet here. That said, a huge bet is going to be the one that's more likely to be a bluff. If he bets like 100 here, is the 9 going to be good that often? I don't know. It's close. I'm not really sure. Maybe he has a hand like 9-10, 9-8 suited, something like that. That would be, I think, the case if he were to bet 100 again, that he has some weaker 9s. So my initial reaction is that he has a missed flush draw, right? Because I think this is how somebody would play a missed flush draw. They would bet small again and name their price. On the river they can't win, and so they go all in. The problem is that if he has a missed flush draw, whether it be ace high, king high, whatever, he still has to contend with the all-in player who's in between for the main pot. Our side pot between he and I is only $200, so he'd be risking $575 to get me to fold and hope that he can beat the other all-in player. And if he's got the ace high flush draw or something, the other guy has to have a pretty specific hand to have him beat, right? Like, it would have to be exactly like a king high flush draw that doesn't make a pair or something like that. So it's just not something you see very often. Maybe he doesn't have an understanding of like the dry side pot. Maybe he just realizes he can't win. So I kind of go into the tank a bit, and he's just kind of sitting there like just grinning at me, like real wide, just grinning. One of those things where, again, where it's like someone's trying to look comfortable and when they're not. So I feel like I want to call, but at the same time, like, this is a massive bet for this game, especially, right? Like, it's almost 200 big blinds on the river, or yeah, it's essentially 200 big blinds on the river. A full buy-in for the game. And so I started talking to him, and I'm like, yeah, I don't have a very good hand. And he's like kind of still grinning. I'm like, it's just a 9 to be specific. And he's like still smiling. And I say something to him, I forgot what it was, and he's just like, well, I already know what you got. And I'm like, all right. It feels like he's not that comfortable. It feels like he's trying to put on a show that he's comfortable. Let me know down below what you do here. What do you do in this spot if you got yourself into this gross mess? Are you calling? Are you folding? What do you think his hands are the way he played it? So yeah, after tanking for quite some time, we didn't come to the meetup game to fold what's essentially top pair in a goofy line. The hands that I'm most afraid of are ace 5 of hearts and 5-6 of hearts. That would be missed flush draws that made now like essentially the nuts, the straight. Other than that, I think he's just gonna have a lot of ace high and king high flush draws that missed. I don't think he'd be playing like a turn jack this way. He'd probably just bet smaller for value. Really, he's repping some like monster hands, like sets. And if he had a set, why wouldn't he bet the turn much larger when there's a flush draw, right? That just doesn't make any sense. He should be betting much larger on the turn when he has a set or two pair or something like that to protect what it looks like I'm going to have a flush draw, right? If he's got a set or two pair, then it's going to look like multi-way. I'm going to have the flush draw he needs to protect against, so why would he bet so small? So I think the line that he takes just screams of having him as flush draw. So I put my big boy pants on and finally find a call. He grabs his cards, starts to turn them over, see the ace of hearts, see something that looks like the five of hearts. I look at the board, I look at the card, it's a six of hearts. I look at the board, I look at the card. Ace six of hearts for ace high. Yes, we put on our cape and made the right call. Unfortunately, the all-in player between us for like the $450 pot, $470, almost $500 pot, he has jack seven of hearts for turning the jack for top pair. So we lose that, but we win the side pot, which is pretty hefty. Obviously, it would have been nice if he missed, but yeah, I mean, whatever. It is what it is. So yeah, pretty sick spot. Obviously, I wish I had pulled out the camera for this, but it was literally my first hand at this table. And what I think is really funny is a part of my decision-making process was the fact that I thought, like, okay, this guy's at a meetup game. I think he's trying to pull off a big bluff. The way he like was going to bet 100, 200, it was like he was realizing like this sizing isn't going to work. I've got to go for it all. Just all of that combined. What's funny is, turns out he had no idea who I was. He was not trying to bluff check raise Charles. He was just trying to bluff. He was told when he sat down that it is a meetup game and there will be cameras, but he wasn't aware of who anybody was, what was exactly going on, what poker vlogs are. He was just there to have a good time. And so, you know, his intention wasn't try to bluff some vlogger. So I got a little bit lucky there. That part of my call was just like thinking that he's trying to pull off a big bluff. And yeah, so we win a big pot. After that hand, I think I'm up kind of a considerable amount, maybe like 1,000 or 11 or 1,200, something like that. So yeah, trending in the right direction. Now I get ace queen of diamonds. I can't remember if it's a kill pot or not. And I open to 20. It's quite possible it's a kill pot because of the fact that I'm opening to 20. But anyway, so I open to 20, and now kid 2 seats to my left makes it 65. Folds to me. If I'm offsuit here, I'm just going to be folding pre-flop. It's going to be hard to play out of position. It's one of those situations where I think you're going to get in a lot of reverse implied odd spots where, you know, if you flop an ace, you're probably not going to win a big pot unless you're beat. Or if, you know, I guess you wouldn't be winning a big pot if you're beat. I meant you're not going to be winning a big pot because chances are they're just going to have something like kings or queens and it's going to check down. And similarly, if it comes queen high, now you're going to run into some aces and kings. And it's really hard, I think, out of position to be playing a hand like ace queen for a ton of money in 3-bet pots. Unless you have a really good read on the opponent and you think they're getting really out of line. Anyway, so I call because I am suited. And the flop comes like 10-8-5 with no diamonds, so none of my suit. I don't flop it back to flush draw, and I just check fold to his c-bet. He tells me, I think later on, because I asked him about the hand, saying that I wanted it for the vlog, and he said he couldn't remember, but he was pretty sure it was just some like suited connector or something like that he didn't really have much. So it kind of goes to show you again, you know, obviously if he has a hand like queen jack suited and he's 3-betting, most of the time neither of us are going to flop a pair, and you're just going to have to check fold. So really, you know, it might actually be a better spot to just be 4-bet, turning this hand into a 4-bet bluff pre-flop than just calling pre-flop out of position. Anyway, so we lose that hand, and then now a few hands later, maybe like 4 or 5 hands later, he opens to 25 just in 3-3. I'm in the big blind, and he gets, I think, 2 calls, or 2 or 3, I think 2 calls, and I'm in the big blind with ace king offsuit. Obviously a hand I want to be 3-betting, but his sizing kind of worries me. You know, the fact that he's opening this large feels like he's gonna have a good hand, whether that's like pocket tens or pocket jacks, or if it's gonna be something like ace king or kings or something, or aces, who knows. You'll find that, you know, some people vary their bet sizing based on their hand strength. You know, they'll open larger if they have pocket tens. Some people will open larger if they have aces or kings because they hate losing with them. All sorts of people have different interesting quirks about how they change and vary their bet sizing with certain pocket pairs and hands. But anyway, yeah, so I feel like he's really strong, but it also feels kind of silly to be flatting ace king here. He's playing about 320 bucks, so I like to 3-bet to 125. He thinks for a bit and rips, folds back to me. Obviously, I'm not 3-betting to 125 to fold for like 190. I call it off, and sure enough, he has pocket kings, and we do not win this like 30%er. So yeah, it would have looked like a genius if I had just flatted pre-flop. Because of his sizing, like I said, I felt like he was really strong. At the same time, really strong could just be like 2 10s, right? And you're going to put 2 10s in a really difficult spot when you make it 125 here. Now he feels like he essentially has to play for all of it. So we lose that hand, and now we're bleeding a bit of it back from that previous hero call. I end up playing a little bit longer, switch finally to the final, the last game, the 5th table, play there for a bit before we call it an evening and head to the bar, which you saw kind of in the video before this, which was nice. We kind of got to talk a little bit to everybody. Amazing night. It was a ton of fun. I ended up booking like an $804 win, or something, a little bit over $800, I think, like $820, something like that. And just a really successful evening. Thank you to everybody who came out. I had a ton of fun. I heard from a number of people that they had a lot of fun, and more importantly, that it felt kind of like a home game vibe, which gave us the idea, it'd be nice to be able to run these events monthly. And so we had to speak to the casino. They were really happy with the event. Obviously, they got a few extra tables running than they usually would. We did have 5 tables running for a majority of the night. I think we had 4 for a little bit longer than the 5th, but yeah, 5 for the majority of the night. And speaking to one another, we said we wanted to try to run a monthly, whether it be like month end or something like that, where it kind of becomes like a home game at a casino, where you can know like the last Saturday of the month or whatever, there is this meetup game at Lucky Chances Casino. You can kind of all come together, have a good time. So that's our intention and that's our hope. And as you can see at the end of that video that I had posted, we do have another one scheduled for March 21st, starting at 2 p.m. This time around, I'd like to actually run a PLO table as well. A couple people who play PLO and know that I play PLO said that they would like to play PLO. So my hope is to try to organize at least one table of 235 PLO, which is the small PLO game that regularly runs there. It is a $1,000 cap buy-in game. It's just a lot of fun. It's a really good game. I think it's a great spot to learn PLO. You could short stack it. I think the minimum buy-in is 200. If you are interested, comment below. Go to pokermeetup.com. Sign up for the event one way or the other, whether you're looking to play that 3-3 no limit or whether you'd be interested in the PLO. Let me know down below if you're in the area and would like to play PLO, because I'm going to try to build up that list separately myself to ensure that we can at least get that one table going. I really just want to thank everybody who was able to attend and made the event extremely successful. Thanks again to Q, Christy, and Andrew for working with me. They were a blast. I think it's really fun to be able to work with multiple vloggers. This way we can ensure that actually there's like essentially a vlogger in each game. I know in Brad and Andrew's meetups, when they get like 15 tables and there's only 2 of them, it can be quite some time before you actually get to play with them. So it's nice to have other people to be working with. They're all amazing. Each of them just brings something fun and interesting to the table. So I love the group. And big thanks to Lucky Chances and Mike at Lucky Chances for helping us set this up. And hopefully we continue to make these a successful event going forward. As I've been mentioning in my daily vlogs, which I probably haven't gotten to yet, I will be playing almost daily going forward now. Benjamin just started school. I'm actually here to pick him up right now, or rather daycare, not school. Charlie's in school, but he just started for the first time at daycare, and that leaves us to the daily grind. So yeah, look forward to a lot more vlogs coming up in the future. Catch you guys later.